election. Approximately 4 o'clock, the garage door of the TCF Center opened. The counting room in the TCF Center is in the basement. So when the garage door opened, a van pulled up. Food never came out of these vans.
Yes, what's your point of order, Representative?
We have these people coming in here testifying, making claims. They should be under, we should have them under, what do you call it?
Oath.
Under oath.
Representative, we don't do that. Representative, we're not going to do that. You're out of order.
I have an affidavit.
You're out of order, Representative.
She has an affidavit under oath.
Representative.
There was a point in the night where, Samuel and Nick said that there was a big data loss. They started freaking out, stepped off the stage, got on their phones. Nick sent Samuel over to this warehouse for about 3 hours. When he got back, I said, "Where were you? Where'd you go?" And he's like, nothing, they just needed my help. What I believe is it wasn't a data loss. It was actually when they found out Trump was ahead 100,000 votes. Something very, very suspicious too, must I add, that we were not allowed to wear name tags at all. We were not allowed to talk about who we worked for. They were very secretive. They didn't want anybody knowing anything about them.
Big stack of ballots that came in with a note saying not in EPB/S, which is not in election poll book or system. I didn't even know that that can even happen, that you can actually have ballots that are not in the poll book or in the system and still be fed into the system. And they didn't know. They were manually feeding it with a birth date of 1900 something. And I have seen some women who came to me and said, let's get these MFs out, accusing them of something like your mask slipped, you were not 6 feet away, so you need to go out, and your phone was out, and they were really intimidating all these white people.
Then around 4:30 a.m. we had an announcement that a new shipment of ballots were arriving, and these boxes of ballots were brought in by Mr. Baxter himself at 4:30 a.m. from the rear of the room. So each box I approximate 600 ballots, and it was like a full. What you have to know is that these tables, there's about 7 tables. They were 10-foot tables each. Every table was full of boxes of ballots. It's not tens of thousands or 20,000s. I approximate 50,000 ballots were brought in. So they had the shift change. At 6 a.m., Mr. Baxter and his management team got back on the microphone and said, this is what the new shift change, right? The new employees says, this is what democracy is supposed to look like. Right in front of everyone, the whole room cheered. Poll workers changed duplicate ballots to straight Democrat ticket. So for example, it would be like a mixed ticket. Bubbles filled in everywhere. I witnessed employees taking their pen and filling in the Democrat straight ticket when it's not. And then around 2 p.m., I leave the room for about 5 minutes to grab a snack because they're saying, snacks are coming in, go grab a snack, go ahead. I leave the room 2 p.m. The minute I leave the room, they block out the whole room with coverings. They prohibited access back in for me. And they said it's because we're exceeding COVID capacity.
And the thing that when I started writing down the ballot numbers and the last names of the person of the ballot that had the name on that ballot, they were all in sequence. These are absentee ballots, mail-in ballots. They cannot be in sequence. 2232 cannot have 2233 next to it because if they're mailed in, they come in all different numbers. There was not even a date on those envelopes. It said November 0-2020. There was no second number there. Then I said, what is the date on this one? Then they got really mad at me. They said, you're not letting us do our job. Another thing I also have to say is when the GOP people were getting escorted out with or without handcuffs, every poll worker and all Democrats stood and clapped like it was they all won a lottery ticket.
As a woman from the city of Detroit, a woman who has lived, I'm talking about me now, these people our guests are sharing information, just sharing and speaking and speaking. No one is under oath.
Representative, I just want to remind you, I think it was the purpose of today's hearing to hear from people across Michigan who witnessed things at the TCF Center. That's why we're here.
Well, you know,
So-
here, and I'm not going to argue
Representative,
with you
that's
about
why
that.
we're here. So
Okay, so
I
they're
think
here, but they're
that's-
taking so much time, and I see no Detroiters. There is one Detroiter. Stop that. It may not be done under the state, but you're allowing people to come in here and lie, and I know they're lying.
What can you tell us about the Dominion voting system?
We began looking at these companies, as I mentioned, the team that we joined that had begun studying this back in 2018 after the Kentucky governor's race, and then several races in Texas with the ES&S machines. We really started looking at the lineage of these companies and the code to the software, and they really seem all go back to Smartmatic, or SGO Smartmatic. They do have licensure agreements between Smartmatic and Dominion, between Smartmatic and ES&S, which is another major voting machine. And really the core of these voting systems are rife with vulnerabilities. I was an information warfare officer, so I looked at ways to penetrate, defeat, and corrupt other systems, whether it was through electronic warfare, through other means. I worked with both secret and top secret and other special access programs. All those machines had the USB drives deactivated. You could not use them just because of the critical vulnerability. These machines all work off of USB drives. In the implementation statement for 5.1, one of the myths that has been propagated even by the director of CISA at Homeland Security, which is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is that, well, these machines are not connected to the internet. In the operator's manual, there's a whole page of references that show you how and when to connect and what selectors to connect to servers and to routers, so it is connected to the internet. That's how you get election night reporting. And was purchased by another UK registered company. So we've recently found, and we're digging further, that there was a $400 million financial transaction to Dominion voting systems in October, 1 month before our election. We're digging into that. But we know through some of the leaked information from the Panama banking system that SGO, Smartmatic, and Dominion both share a physical address in a small building in Barbados as registry headquarters. Smartmatic was designed, developed in Venezuela. Hugo Chavez was the president, and basically he invested, I believe, 28% of the money to fund Smartmatic to control the Venezuelan elections. I personally debriefed the son of a Cuban intelligence officer who was at dinner with two of Hugo Chavez's relatives when Maduro's election was in question due to the populist uprising in Venezuela. And they told him, the son of the Cuban intelligence officer, don't worry, it's guaranteed. Our father invested the money to start SGO. So unless you did a forensic audit of the ballot itself, you wouldn't be able to tell if the ballot was fraudulent or pre-printed. We have technology to be able to do that. A gentleman that I'm associated with in Texas, his name is Jovan Pulitzer. He invented the QR code and scanner and scanning capability, owns a patent on all that. He's devised a way to determine fake ballots or ballots who were pre-printed, and I say algorithm because the data that's the raw feed of the data is reported in decimal places. So if you're tabulating votes, your vote, my vote, Representative Johnson's votes, well, that's 3 votes. This data is reported in 3-digit fractions.
20% into processing the absentee ballots, we realized we had a large portion that did not match. And it's standard procedure to contact the clerk when you have that happen to ask if they have any envelopes that may not be scanned, if they have anything stuck in an auxiliary bin, ask them for a corrected list if possible. We did not get corrected statement of voters, so people cast, until 13 days after the election. It was the afternoon, the day before certification, when a large black tote was brought into the canvas containing multiple precincts' new voter lists. Some of those voter lists managed to make the balances work out. At the end of the day, less than 24 hours later, the canvas was given a verbal report for the plus and minus. We were not provided with an executive summary written, even though I requested one. And one more item to note, in the State Board of Canvassers meeting, Daniel Baxter said that they did not issue any revised poll lists. I don't know if he was misinformed or misspoke, but there were clearly an entire tote of revised lists delivered the day before the certification.
Last year, 2 years ago in Florida, the same thing happened in Palm Beach and Broward County. It was a 2-point election, Senate, governor. Palm Beach County took 2.5 weeks to report. And finally it ended when they caught a truck like the one coming from Bayport, New York to Philadelphia. They caught a truck in Jacksonville, headed to Palm Beach with 100,000 ballots that pretended to be Palm Beach ballots, but they were done up in Jacksonville. And then they had to end the election, and they prosecuted the people in Palm Beach. And remember, this year, we had no problem in Florida. I mean, you were counting for an eternity. Florida was over with that night because the governor had the courage to straighten it out. And I would never certify an election or have my name associated with anything that was false. Now, it is your responsibility to do that. And in Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2, the power is given to you. In the McPherson case in 1892, the United States Supreme Court made clear that you can take that power back any time you want to. Yes. And in case you think it's old law, it was reiterated in Bush v. Gore. You can see their behavior in this hearing. I can see the difference in behavior between two sides. Maybe sometimes we're too nice. Maybe sometimes we're too decent. Or maybe we shouldn't change. But one thing we should have is we have the ability to defend ourselves and not let our people get kicked around the way those Republicans were kicked around.
Mr. Giuliani, this committee heard testimony from a bipartisan group of county clerks in Michigan. One was a Democrat and 2 were Republicans. They testified that they found no evidence whatsoever of widespread irregularities in this election, and they lauded the municipal clerks and their teams who run elections in Michigan for their tireless effort and commitment to free, fair, and safe elections. Your team has now lost 39 court cases in the aftermath of the election, with judges ruling that there is inadequate evidence to support the sweeping claims that you are making and repeating here tonight, and the unprecedented relief that you are seeking. Yesterday, we learned that U.S. Attorney General William Barr has similarly found no evidence whatsoever of widespread irregularities that are worth investigating. If our local clerks, state and federal judges across the country, and the highest-ranking law enforcement official in the United States cannot find any substance to or any merit in any of your arguments, why should we? Why should we sit here in this show that you are partaking in and taking around the country if no one has found any evidence whatsoever of any of your wrongdoing? And why should we not believe the reported attempts of you to try to seek a pardon from the president?
What was the last part?
That last part is not.
You're attempting to seek a pardon,
election.
so why is this not part of that?
I will ask that he be disciplined for that. First of all,
hold on.
First of all, what he says is untrue. Second, that is a defamation of my professional character.
I said
Do you allow that? Do you allow that to happen in your legislature?
No. Let me ask
for the record,
question.
we haven't lost 39 cases. We've only brought 3. So you're wrong about that. Second, the reason why The reason why people are reaching those conclusions is because, like you, they don't have the discipline, maybe the intelligence, I don't know, to read through this.
Our elected officials should be condemning.
What is your question, Representative?
Sir.
I'm asking you, what is your question?
No, I don't have a question. I would like
If you don't have a question, then we're going to move on, Representative.
No, that is not fair, sir.
Representative Riley,
Our
we're gonna move
elected
on.
officials should be condemning, not.
I'm sorry, you're out of order, Representative. You're out of order. You're out of order. You don't have a question, you're out of order. Representative, you're out of order. You're out of order, Representative.
Mr. Giuliani. Hi again.
Hello?
Do you think that both you and the president are honest men?
Do I really have to answer that question?
Yes.
Representative C.A. Johnson, Representative,
answer it.
Representative, do you have a point of order?
I'm asking the question.
Representative,
I'm
we're not
asking
gonna,
the question.
we need a
Do you
question
consider
related to the
yourself,
election.
Mr.
Representative,
Giuliani?
Representative, you're out of order.
Watch Good Morning Mug Club live every Monday